Hello, everybody, and welcome back to the Brand Bosses podcast. Thank you so much for being here. Today, we have Erin Thumann on the podcast. She brings her creative vision to life through both in-person and virtual events with her company, Eventful Erin. She's the definition of the Coastal Cowgirl aesthetic, blending laid-back coastal vibes with a touch of chic, a true Pinterest girl in real life. Erin is a friend you want styling your wardrobe and curating your home. Now based in Charleston, her relaxed yet refined style shines through in everything she shares, from home decor and fashion finds to event planning inspiration. With her eye for design and warm energy, Erin effortlessly inspires her 126,000 Instagram followers, making everything feel like a beautiful, curated experience. Welcome to the show, Erin.
Thank you so much. I'm so excited to be talking with you.
Yeah, well, Charleston is one of my favorite places, I have to say, in the U.S., so I'm kind of jealous that you get to live there. How long have you been out in that area?
So I moved about 2.5 years ago from Phoenix, Arizona, and I never want to leave Charleston. It's absolutely amazing, and I think it's also just perfect for my work because it's such a big event space, and I realized that my first time visiting that it was the place for me.
Yeah. We worked with a company out there. I think I mentioned this to you on the phone. A church out there putting on a women's conference. So I get to go visit for the first time last September. And I just loved, I guess, the Southern hospitality that everybody talks about. Being from the Midwest, that was something that I wasn't really, I guess, used to, you could say. So it was really fun. So you transitioned from Arizona to Charleston. Was that move just a personal choice? Did you move for a particular reason? How did you end up in Charleston?
So I actually started my business when I graduated from University of Arizona in 2021, and I was in Arizona for about a year. And so I started my business probably 6 months after I graduated. And since I always knew I didn't want to plant my roots in Arizona long term, I always knew I wanted to move somewhere, but I wasn't sure where. When the opportunity for Charleston came up, I was like, so excited for it. And so it was perfect that I had made my company virtual because then I was able to pick up and move. And now with being in such an amazing event space, I'm able to do way more in person, which is such a dream. So I guess it was personal, but also slightly motivated by work because I can technically do my job from anywhere. But yeah, I just knew it was right for me.
Yeah, no, that's awesome. And so let's talk a little bit about this business. So obviously it's in the event planning space. So I'm curious. So you graduated from Arizona, and then did you start this right away? Did you kind of take a couple years? What did that look like?
So once I graduated, it was such a weird time period because I had been doing social media full time for probably like 4 to 5 years before that. My sister had a YouTube channel that I helped with growing up, and so I think I had kind of gained a following from that, and it was just for fun. And I always knew when I graduated that I did not want to do social media full time. I wanted something that I could pour my heart and my interest into. And so when I graduated with my environmental studies and business degree, my original plan was to help with events and marketing for an eco-friendly company. And it's just so crazy how everything works out, where that's obviously my the direction where my job went. But then it was about the fall time. I was really struggling after college. I didn't know what I wanted to do. All my friends had moved away. I was in this whole new life, but then also like living in my childhood room. So it was just a very weird time. And my mom was actually the one, we were just brainstorming on these like long mental health walks. And she was like, well, what do you enjoy? Like, what would you want out of a job? And I remember this so vividly, but I was like, well, I just love making cocktails and charcuterie boards. And I felt stupid for even saying that. And she was like, you can make anything a job in this day and age. And I think I was so lucky because I had gone through the COVID year where everything had switched to virtual. So I think I was more open and kind of the perfect timing to step into the virtual world for a business because everyone was kind of adjusting to that. And so we go on these walks throughout the fall and just like brainstorm fun ideas, but I never thought I would actually do it. So it kind of was like, it wasn't even a joke. It was more just kind of a lighthearted conversation we would do on our walks. And then I got serious about it and was like, okay, I'm going to give it a try. And then I prepped for about 5 months on how I would want to do it, like how would this whole process work. And then I launched it on Valentine's Day, February 14th of 2022. So that was very exciting. And I wanted to make sure that also Valentine's Day always was connected to my business because I really do feel like it's like my one true love. Like that's what I called it. So that was a very exciting process. And then, yeah, I was in Arizona for about a year and a half and then moved to Charleston.
I love that. And I love the idea that you had people around you that supported you kind of through this, because I think exactly like you're saying, I think a lot of people probably have a flavor or a taste of what they feel like they should be doing with their lives, yet a lot of people probably were in that same place as you at one point, which is like, but it just feels silly. And what I
Yeah.
appreciate is like, you still had those thoughts, you still had the doubt, but you also had a voice kind of being like, you can do anything. And I think that's really special.
I was very lucky because for myself, like I did not believe in myself at all. And my mom was the one who almost gave me that spark because she was like, no, you can literally do anything you want. And that is what carried me through at least the first year of my business. And then once I realized that there was a demand for virtual events and that people actually trusted me to plan these special events. And then as I started to grow, I think with each event, I gained more and more self-confidence, and that's what I try and hold on to every day. But there's still some challenging moments with the self-worth. I feel like everyone struggles with that. But yes, I was very lucky to have that like internal family support.
Yeah, that's really awesome. And so, walk me through that first event or the first few events that you planned. Like, what did those look like?
So when I first launched the business, I had done a couple different kind of, I guess, like teasers that were around Valentine's Day, and I was setting up different like Valentine's Day themed events around the country. So when I was in Hawaii, I did one, California, I think one was in Colorado, and then one in Arizona. So when I finally announced it on Valentine's Day, I truly thought like maybe my aunt would hire me or something like that. Or so I was checking my inbox, and I was so shocked when girls were reaching out, wanting to connect and wanting some inspiration for their events. And so one of the first events that I helped plan, I remember it so clearly because her name was Erin, and she was from Canada, and she was planning her West Coast trip, and she had seen that I had gone to California a lot, and something I also love doing is planning trips. I had always just done that in my free time. And so I remember her call, we went through everything, and that one I was so excited about because I felt so honored that she trusted me with such a big solo trip. And yeah, so that was like one of my first ones where that one will always just stick with me, I think. But it was so fun learning those first couple of months, like how I wanted to like organize everything, how I wanted to communicate what I was seeing in my head. And I think that was definitely probably one of my first challenges, was trying to figure out how to explain to these virtual clients like exactly what I was picturing.
That's interesting. And, those first couple events, you said you did like 3 or 4 before the launch. Is that right?
Yeah, so those were more just for fun, not really for
Okay.
anything, but kind of sample events just to kind of like show, I don't know, I guess test myself, try and do
Yeah.
something fun and cute, and honestly just to like make it exciting. I was
Yeah.
trying to, yeah, just do anything fun.
Well, I think there's something to be said for that though, because like I remember when I started, I did a lot of volunteer work for people in terms of just marketing. And the reason I did that was probably similar to you, which is like you're building kind of a name for yourself and credibility and a portfolio. And even if it's these, smaller projects per se that you're doing, like I think there's something to be said for you actually executing an event right before even the launch.
That's what, yeah, I wanted to make sure also, because I had been planning events all through, or honestly my whole life. My mom was very into it, so I think I always just kind of followed suit with her. And so I was lucky that I had a lot of skills before starting my event planning business. But the one thing I think it was challenging, but also a blessing, is I had never worked under anybody before. And so on one way, it was, I didn't have like the like steps on how do you get from here to here. But then it was also cool because I kind of got to create my own steps, which I feel like is a very unique position, and that obviously came with a lot of challenges, but also a lot of freedom. So that was also, yeah, a learning curve for me with starting a
Yeah.
business.
Yeah, I think that is one of the biggest learning curves. Like, I just met with a girl who's becoming an entrepreneur, and I was like, I think the hardest part is like scheduling yourself when you first start a business, because it's like suddenly you have endless time, and it's like kind of this mindset, like, where do I start? So that's really interesting. I've definitely faced that as well.
Yeah, it's definitely a core feeling when you're an entrepreneur and you start your own business. But I'm so lucky because I really feel like I've kind of gotten in the groove of how things work. And I guess just to kind of explain my process to you, I typically start with a $25 consultation call, and I have either a form or you can email me at eventfulerin44@gmail.com. And then that kind of gives me the basics of the event. So like the form will ask like the date, what it's for, because I haven't even mentioned this, but I plan basically every kind of event. So birthdays, bachelorettes, brand trips, vacations, like baby showers, bridal events, basically everything but weddings. I've helped with some backyard weddings, which has been super fun, but I like the more, I guess, intimate events. And so that form kind of helps me then before the call understand what you're looking for and be able to prep and have ideas so that way I have that on the phone call. And then from there we take the phone call, we go through notes, everything that's needed, and then I kind of go from there. And so each event is so different. That's what's crazy. Like not one has been similar because some people will want like food recipes, cocktail recipes, mocktail recipes on theme. Some people want graphics for the event. Some people will want like setting up reservations, pricing on activities where they're going, or just decor, just having a birthday cake catered. So each one, again, is so different. But yeah, that's kind of how that process goes. So I'll send over round one with normally like decor links, restaurant ideas, if that's like what's needed, activities for the event. And then round two, go through kind of get the feedback, apply that, and then normally by round two, my clients have been happy, but then also I can do as many rounds as possible until everything is situated. But it's definitely fun being, I think with doing this more and more, I like the event coordinator aspect because it's so fun, like setting up itineraries, setting up reservations, and kind of like helping with how timing is, because I would definitely say that's one of my strong suits is being very time conscious, and my friends and family will even say it can be a little bit too neurotic sometimes, but I feel like I have that dialed in, which is good. I feel like as an event planner, you probably need to or have good time management. But yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, that's funny. It's like you're listing out those things, and I'm like, It's so interesting, like the different personalities of an entrepreneur. Like, that is such a great trait that you value that. But, like, for me, it's like, that's something that I would definitely hire out, which is super awesome to have people like you. And so, thinking about all the different events that you plan, I mean, you have all kinds. Do you have like a favorite or one that maybe you didn't think that you'd like as much that has kind of popped up?
Yes, okay, so well my favorite is probably when I help with like brand events or like influencer events, because from doing social media for now, oh my gosh, I don't know, 7 years maybe now, I feel like I've been to a fair amount of influencer events, and so it's so fun being on the other side because I know what I would want from an event or what I would want to take pictures of, because also brands are wanting to get their name out there. They want and to be as authentic as possible for the girls or guys taking pictures there. And so I feel like that's why my favorite one. And then one that I was kind of surprised by, I love girls trips, like planning anything girls trips, but bachelorettes I've kind of really leaned into. And I love being able just to help with the decor, and because like with a virtual client, what I'll do is like, let's say it's an Airbnb, they'll send me the link and I'll go in and literally edit where all the decor is supposed to go. So like they'll look, when they get it back, it's a picture of the kitchen, like, and I'll have the banner, put food here. Like, so that is fun because I'm able to literally do that from anywhere in the world. And yeah, the bachelorette decor and just, I mean, they're so fun. That's definitely one that I enjoy.
Yeah, that's awesome. And as you're speaking, it's so baffling to me, like all the details that come up with planning something like that. Like even what you're saying, like the banner, the colors, like all those things go into it. And it's just so amazing. I think that you enjoy doing that and that you find joy in doing that because, I can think of a handful of times when I've planned an event, just even for like brand bosses. And to me, it's like the amount of details that go into it and just the effort, right? If you don't enjoy that, it can be definitely like hard to do.
Yes, and overwhelming. And someone had given me advice a while ago, but they said basically like your business will thrive when you lean into your strengths. So like for some people, like you were saying, like planning an event might be stressful. And so if you are a business owner, hiring out is probably smarter because everyone has their strengths. And so when you have people help you with not even your weaknesses, but things that you're not maybe absolutely amazing at, that's how you really thrive, is by reflecting and really seeing like what you're strong with and what you're the most confident in, and really going towards that rather than trying to do it all. Because when you try and do it all, I've noticed that does not work. You need
Oh
help.
my gosh. It's so true. So, looking kind of ahead to 2025, how many events do you kind of have lined up? Do you know?
Oh my gosh, that's actually a good question, because with January, it was definitely, so January, I've realized now with doing this for 3 years, it is always a like set up month. So it's a lot of like people taking calls for spring, summer, fall. And so I feel like I'm still kind of in that transitional period
Mm-hmm.
where I'm getting official dates, making sure venues are available. And so it's a lot more of that kind of work and taking calls, making sure like, is this vendor available this day? Is this florist available this day? But I've been super busy with virtual events. Actually, a lot of bachelorettes, which is so fun because I
Yeah.
feel like there's a lot in the spring. And so I've also been super excited because there's been a lot of Charleston ones. And that just always makes me so happy just because I feel like I know Charleston so well now and what I would love to do on a bachelorette. So I'm able to really like be excited about it because I just love Charleston so much. But yeah, that's what I've been working on right now. And then in the beginning of the year, or end of last year, one of my goals actually before I even started my event planning business, I had always wanted to create my own agenda just because I'm such a note taker, love agendas. Like I'm the type I have like four for no reason, like notepads everywhere. And I created that with a local artist here last year, and it was my Eventful Hour agenda. And so that opened up like a whole new like segue of my business because now I have Eventful Essentials. So my goal is to expand that and have notebooks, notepads, help things to help you plan your own events, like kind of toolkits like that, ebooks. And so that was something I wasn't expecting to be able to finish last year, but I'm so glad that I did because it really was a goal for so long.
Wow. And how did that like vision for you come to be?
For the agendas or for the Eventful Essentials?
I'd say let's start with the agendas.
So I'd say with the agendas, again, just being so passionate, literally
Yeah.
passionate about my agendas. Like I am so particular when it comes to that, and I always get one probably in January, then one in August, just to kind of always have it be fresh. But I wanted one that was also like customizable because I hate when I get an agenda and it's not formatted how I want it, or it starts in January and you're getting it in August for like the school year, for example, and then you
Right.
have a whole half of the year that's unused. And so I purposely wanted my agendas to be where they were blank, so you could start at any month. And what I've really encouraged girls to do, or anyone that's bought my agenda, is to customize it how you want. So whether that's with stickers, doodling, and so I try to do that alongside everyone and show my different months and how I decide to decorate it because I feel like when you add a lot of personality into it, it can make the agenda just like more special. It's not just a
Mhm.
book where you write stuff down. It's like you can actually make it fun and more like aligned with yourself.
Yeah, yeah, that's really awesome that you kind of saw that opportunity and then jumped at it because it is kind of very different per se from the events, I guess, arm of the business, but at the same time, they probably do complement each other quite a bit.
Yeah, and it's crazy how those are so connected just because, again, I feel like with events, planning, notebooks, agendas, it all goes in together. I literally have like my four notebooks right here in front of me for no reason. But just, yeah, it's all very connected.
I'm actually really curious though. So your current personal Instagram, I think I mentioned had like 126,000 followers, which is amazing. And so kind of walk me through your mindset. Like when you first started it, did you go in with the intention, I really want to take this seriously, like I really want to grow this, or was it more of like an organic growth?
It was definitely an organic growth because I wasn't even going to make an Eventful Erin Instagram like separate from my account. And it was about a week before I was gonna like launch the business. And one of my friends who does social media full time, she was like, I think you should make the Instagram account. And I guess the reason I was against it is I thought no one would follow it. And so just kind of like that insecurity where I thought, again, no one would really care. And so I created it and I had it on private for the first, I think, I want to say 6 months because it felt so special being able to have a community that only was following for the event space. And it felt outside of me where it was like a smaller group of people. And it was so amazing. I'm so glad that she convinced me to do that because that then led into trying to figure out a way to show my life on my personal account, which then became an event planner, but then also on the event planning account showing recipes, inspiration, like my portfolio. So that was such a learning curve in the beginning was how do I kind of put these both together, but also make them stand alone because I want Eventful Erin to also be an account that you want to follow because you love events, not like if that makes sense, like where it's they're separate but also intertwined. So I think I have found a good balance with that, which is amazing. And again, it took a lot of practice, but now I know kind of how to intertwine both and how to keep them separate.
Yeah, because that's honestly one of the biggest questions sometimes we get with our clients is like, oh, do I start a new page for my business arm? Like, for example, we work with quite a few realtors. It's like, oh, do I start another page for my real estate business? And what you're kind of saying is you just maybe shifted the intentionality of the events page versus the personal. Is that right?
Yes, and honestly, I would give that advice to anyone that's like wanting to start a business, or even like you were saying, the realtors, is to have a separate account, because I felt so much more confident on that Eventful, or I still do, on that Eventful Erin account, to go on there, post whatever I want, because again, the people following are interested in your work, and there's something to that where then you don't overthink it as much. Whereas I feel like a lot of people, I mean, even when I had Instagram in high school, it's like you have people following you from your whole life, and that can be very vulnerable.
Yeah.
Like starting or just like posting your startup business or your passion, and knowing that everyone's going to see that. So I feel like having it separate kind of just gives you that confidence and to really lean into it and make it like your own, if that makes sense.
Yeah, and I think there's something to be said for the confidence aspect of it too, because that's exactly the issue that we deal with almost like on a weekly basis is like knowing what to post, what's in alignment with the business side versus the personal, all that. But I think what you're saying is like you've been very mindful of like, okay, here's the content that's going here, here's the content that's going here, based on the different audiences, which I think is really smart.
Yes, I think that is, I mean, I feel like my marketing degree kind of came in there and helping with that. And also, I think just from, again, doing social media for those couple years beforehand really helped me just learn so many tools, and also
Yeah.
just how to work with brands. I was so lucky that I had that experience even going into the event planning business, because there's just so much that goes into it. And yeah,
Yeah.
stop rambling.
Yeah, I love that. I think that was well said. And so thinking about your personal Instagram, when did you start that page?
So that I'd always had that since
Okay.
like middle school, kind of when everyone made their Instagrams for the
Yeah.
first time, but it wasn't even that serious. And then from that, I would say, when did I remember I hit 100K in college. I think it was like my sophomore year, because I remember me and my friend like got balloons for it or something cute like that. But again, it was literally on there. I was just posting my trips, college with my friends. It was never necessarily a work thing for me. Like when brand deals came in, that was amazing. But I also still had like I worked at a spin place at school. I was always like always wanted a job outside of it. Just that was one thing I was very, very strict on.
Yeah. And then when did you kind of say, okay, I'm going to take this like seriously into a business?
Not until Eventful Erin, I would say. Because even
Okay.
after college, I was like, okay, like I'll just keep posting my stuff. But again, like there's something, so I think it can get very toxic when your income is, this is a whole separate thing, but when your income is based off of your social media presence, because I think that can get really messy fast. And I've been around a lot of people and just seen this industry and how it can just affect people's mental health so much. And so I didn't ever want to cross that. So that's why I think I chose to always keep the income part separate, where again, it's just for fun, because it makes
Yeah.
it way more fun that way and way more lighthearted.
Yeah, and that's a good point. And your strategy with your personal, has it been really like you just post what you feel is aligned with you, or have you kind of shifted your mindset, seeing, okay, these posts do better, this type of post does better? Like, how have you navigated that?
That's so funny, because I feel like in the past year is when I even started really looking at like engagement and numbers and analytics, and only because I started doing it on Eventful Erin, because I was like, wait, what do people even like really enjoy? And that's when I realized like the party themes was maybe more popular than just like inspo pics for a breakfast club or whatever. And then for my personal page, I figured whatever I enjoy seeing on Instagram, I was going to post. So if I liked this margarita recipe that I was posting on Eventful Erin, I'd also like cross promote it on my personal. But then honestly, my personal is still just like kind of my life in Charleston, when I go out to dinner, things like that. And then anytime I can kind of pull in the event space or show a day in my life and try and kind of show what it looks like. Because I know it can be very confusing on the outside to be like, what is a virtual event planner? Because
Yeah.
it's a very unique job.
Yeah, that's really cool. And have you found like on your personal, do like reels do better? Do posts do better? Does it kind of mix? What does that look like?
Honestly, it's hard, because I just love reels, because I feel like they're just fun, and
Yeah.
I think there's been a lot of transition because obviously with TikTok, like when it was going to go away, I think everyone kind of flew to Reels just to like be safe. But yeah, I always love a Reel. Just it's fun, it's more interactive. But then I also love drink recipes that are just like a static post because that's the kind of thing that I save where sometimes you don't want to watch a full video of someone making a drink or a recipe. You just want to, like, at least for me, I just want to save and be like, okay, here are the ingredients, that's how it looks, and kind of call it a day on that. So yeah, I try and do honestly a balance of both of those.
Yeah. Yeah, well, I think you actually made a good point though. Like you post things that you would want to save. So essentially like you post things you want to see on your feed, which is a really good, it's a good piece of advice I think for like anybody who's just feels, because sometimes I think it can be like really overwhelming to want to grow your social, but it's like, well, where do I start? And then people overthink it and then they don't start and it's just this kind of cycle. And I think that's a really good point.
I think honestly that's great advice for any business owner because even for myself, I'll see certain videos on social media. I know the videos that I scroll right past, things that are redundant or maybe that everyone's doing, and I try to stay away from that as much as possible because I'm like, if I'm scrolling past or feeling overstimulated by this, like there's got to be other people who are feeling this way. But I've been so lucky because I hired on 3 interns in the fall, and then I have they are still with me in the spring. And I'm so lucky because they're able to give me a fresh outside perspective that sometimes I can't see from the inside. And it helps me so much just being able to see like, this isn't clear on this post, or maybe explaining your process better and this would be more beneficial. So that's also been so helpful, always having like an outside view.
Yeah, that's such a good point. We just hired on 2 interns, one that focuses on the podcast and then one that does some content. And it's been really fun to see both of them because I've given them different projects in like social media sphere. And it's been really fun to see like the different tastes and twists that they bring, like you're saying, to the table. Like even one of them I have on the brand boss's social, and she's just creating like these reels and these posts that I'm like, I never would, one, have the time to do that, which is so great. And two, I never would have thought about that. And I really appreciate it. I think that's a good point too.
It's so crazy. And I think honestly, again, for any business owner, having someone like to help you with your socials is such a weight off like your chest because at least for me, you're so busy doing the actual work that sometimes promoting your business can kind of fall off like to the side. And I had made it a goal back when I moved to Charleston that I wanted to interview some of my favorite business owners that I looked up to that had the social media presence and their own brand within themselves, but then had a business because they just did such a good job at cross promoting and making it so authentic, but also so clear. And so they both said to me, once you hire on help, because I was so scared, I was like, this is my baby. Like I can't trust anyone else with this. I need to be in control of this, being a control freak. They're like, once you hire on help, you'll watch your business grow. And so the only way to grow is to ask for help. And it's just so crazy how right they were because that was my first time hiring interns through College of Charleston, and they were amazing. And it was just, since that happened, it was so nice being able to kind of let the reins a little bit and trust other people to really give me that good advice and also help my business.
Yeah, I think that's a great point. And even as you're speaking, I'm thinking about like my own personal pages, and you're 100% right. And we see this with our clients too that don't have anybody in social that then hire us. It's like it can be so hard because we get in our own heads. But also, what's interesting, I think that you're kind of mentioning too, which I appreciate, is like for my personal, I've gotten kind of stuck in the rut because it's like my narratives have shifted. Like I was in college, I was in corporate, and now I'm a business owner. And it's like finding that right voice, like for yourself, can be really, really difficult, which is why you're kind of saying and why I agree with you, like get an outside perspective for sure.
Well, it's funny you actually say that too, because I think part of the reason I felt so alone with my work at first was all of my closest friends were either in a corporate job or going to nursing or PA school, and I was not around one person that had their own business. And so something that I'm so lucky for is I've met so many girls around my age who also own their own business. And I think being surrounded by very motivated people and also people that understand like the ups and the downs of what it's like to run a business, that has helped me more than anything because everyone, like once you own a business, you understand those feelings. And it's been so great being surrounded by that because it makes you feel less alone and knowing that every wave's going to pass. And sometimes it's going to be really high. Sometimes it's going to feel so low for no reason, even though nothing's wrong. Yeah, being surrounded by the right people, I feel like is just so impactful also.
Yeah, no, I definitely agree. And so thinking about when you, I guess, shifted the lens a little bit and now your personal Instagram is monetized per se, how did you first, like, what was that first step for you when you kind of made the decision, okay, I'm ready for this?
So I think I probably should have explained this sooner. So my mom modeled our whole life, and I think I was like 8 years old, is when we got signed to our agency, our local mother agency, Agency Arizona. And so me, my sister, my little brother, we had just always like modeled and done things together. It was really like innocent, cute, and my mom had always said like once it's not fun, like we're not doing this anymore. And so I had gotten into high school and I did some runway shows, different things like that, and went over to LA to see some agencies, and it was very brutal. And they basically said, if you want this, you can't go to college at University of Arizona, you have to come live here. And I was so excited for college, so I was like, no, I'll stay with Agency Arizona, I'll go to college, and that's my priority. And right when I went to college then is when I started to basically gain my following. And so I was already with them, and so they kind of then transitioned into a talent influencer agency, and they were the ones then bringing me my first deal. So I never had like a time to like go meet with different agencies or things like that. So it was honestly perfect how it just like flowed right into it. And I was so happy that I stuck with my choice to continue going to college because I didn't even realize what was down the road for me.
Yeah. And that's a interesting journey. And so how have you decided what brands to work with versus what brands to pass up?
That's actually a really good question. I feel like any brand that I know I would use, and I've not run into too many issues. Probably there's only been one that I can think of where it's kind of crossed where I've been like, I don't know if that's something that I would want to promote. Just it's involving like your personal life or whatever. So yeah, I've pretty much aligned with a lot of the brands, and I love that it's instead of, because like in college it was a lot of more like clothes, beauty, even though I still don't know much about beauty, like beauty products and makeup and all of that. But now it's transitioned into like drinks and things that involve events, and that is where I've found that I am so much more passionate about it because I love trying a new mixer for a mocktail or things like that.
Wow.
Definitely transitioned actually now that I'm thinking about it, since like starting my business.
Yeah. And do you have like a set of maybe values that come to mind that you typically like benchmark against some of these ideas? Because you said you turned one down. Like, how do you go about that decision?
I think the only reason I turned that one down was because it was basically a type of dating app, and
Okay.
I've never wanted my social media to be because I've had multiple relationships now with having my social media account, and I never wanted that to, like, I don't think it's anyone's true business, if that makes sense. Like, I don't want to be known for my relationship stories or things like that. And so first I was like, well, maybe I'll do it, and then I'm like, no, I've always stayed true to this. I'm not going to switch up now.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's so funny. And so you said, have you gotten relationships off of social?
From her, not from social media, but I've always been just very careful on that being a piece of my life
Got
and
it.
not the only thing I post, just because obviously relationships,
Yeah.
they come and they go, and that was just something I never wanted to be known only for a relationship or things like that. I wanted to be known just like, I don't know, for myself or things in my
Yeah.
life outside of boys.
Yeah, no, I definitely respect that. It's just funny because I feel like I've had quite a few friends recently like get in relationships from like an Instagram DM, and it's just
It's
like
funny how that works out. Yeah.
yeah,
Some of my friends have had success with that too.
yeah, and it's so funny. It's like bold move for the people
Yeah.
that are reaching out. Like, I mean, go for it,
Yeah,
right?
go for it. Yeah.
Yeah, that's so funny. And so looking ahead, I guess, just to 2025, say you were speaking to an individual who is like, okay, I'm ready for my social to grow. I'm ready to take it to the next level. Obviously, you've done this twice. You have two very successful brands per se, all wrapped up within yourself. And so tell me, like, what would you say to this person?
That's such a good question because I feel like there's so much, but I feel like something my mom has always said, and I hope this applies, but she always says, like, all it takes is like one thing to pop. So, meaning, like, you could do, let's just say someone wants to do social media. You could do 100 videos and get no views, but all it takes is that one for someone to recognize you or for a brand to recognize you. And so, going into it, if you almost have that in your head, like, oh, well, I know one's going to pop, so I'm just going to keep doing it until it does. I feel like by not giving up, that's the advice. Because even for me, I've had different things with my Eventful Erin TikTok or even starting those socials where it's like, I'm surprised it's even grown, but it's when you stay consistent and, again, post what you want to post. I feel like, again, just that, or all it takes is one to pop, and that's just so true.
Yeah, no, I love that piece of advice. And also, I'm far from any influencer, but I have interviewed quite a few. And one thing that I think I've heard too is like be persistent. Like I've even worked with a couple of brands doing like minor, I don't know, discount codes and things like that. And those didn't just like fall in my lap. Like that was me actually like reaching out with brands that I like use, like Sprout Living, for example, as a protein powder. Like I live by that every day. And it was like when I was training for my marathon, I'm like, oh my gosh, this would be so great because I was kind of getting a lot of like people were interested, I guess, on my journey, like knowing me, like not a runner at all. So it was kind of funny, but I just simply reached out and I'm like, hey, like would love to work with you guys in whatever capacity, or like how can I promote you because I'm using your protein powder all the time.
Yeah.
And then they just like sent me a discount code and it was great. So yeah, I think like that's another piece of it too, is like be understanding of the brands that you want to work with and don't be afraid to simply just like reach out and be persistent about it.
It's funny you say that actually because I'm the Free People Movement walk ambassador in Charleston, so I host monthly events and monthly walks. And I had wanted to do that like basically since moving here. And I was always too timid to reach out or honestly like even say my goal out loud because I thought like again the whole self-doubt. And finally I was like, you know what, like literally what do I have to lose? And so I reached out and it's now I'm almost coming up on a year of doing it. And so it's so true, like all it takes is someone like or that like persistence like you were saying. And I've even noticed with again with me even following up with vendors or event spaces, it's like I've gotten so used to having to follow up where it feels less uncomfortable now. Because at first I was like, oh God, I don't want to annoy them or bug them. But it's like, no, like that shows that you really want it or that you really want an answer. And that's definitely amazing advice.
Yeah, and I think it's an understanding that like we deserve an answer. You know what I mean? Like part
Yeah.
of it is that too. But talk to me. We're gonna wrap up the podcast here, but I want to kind of end on this note. You mentioned like self-doubt and this kind of being intertwined in your journey. Talk to me a little bit about how you have handled this or overcome this.
Okay, so I'm gonna sound so crazy, but I am a big self-help podcast book. Like every morning I have to start my day with some type of chapter from a self-help book because I think when you surround yourself with positive thoughts, and also I love listening or reading things about business owners, like it's so much easier to not doubt yourself when you're constantly surrounded by positivity. But the days that I don't listen to my podcast in the morning or I don't read one of my chapters and highlight my favorite thing of the day, I notice those are the days that I'm like, oh my gosh, like am I doing everything right? Am I doing enough? Because that's my biggest thing is I never feel like I'm doing enough. And that's where I've had to be like, wait, look at everything I accomplished, not even just today, this week, this month, this year. And so I think, yeah, having positivity surrounded by you in any way that suits you is the best way to keep going forward.
Yeah, no, I love that advice. And that's convicting. I've definitely like been there too, where it's like I'm doing everything, yet it doesn't feel like it's
Just
enough.
doing enough, yeah.
Yeah. And I think honestly, every probably business owner goes through that. But, a lot of people just live with that, versus switching their mindset and trying to get to a higher place per se.
Another thing that really stuck with me was if it was easy, everyone would be doing it. So every time I come up with a challenge, I'm like, okay, well, again, if this position, this job was easy, literally everyone would be doing it. So I have to push through because this is what I want to do. So I feel like that's also a really good like last piece takeaway of advice. It's so
Yeah,
true.
yeah. Oh, it's so true. And what kind of books or podcasts like do you motivate you?
Oh my gosh. Okay, so I think her name's Brianna Wiest or West.
Oh, love her.
Oh my, which
Oh
one's
my gosh.
I'm obsessed.
Like, well, oh my gosh, I know. Obviously, The Mountain is You. I think that was the recent one that
Yes.
I read. Now I'm on to Pivot Year,
That's
so
yes. Okay, so
yeah.
that's the one that I read every day. I read one because you know how it's like each page
Hmm.
per day, and I'll highlight and take notes, and then have that be like what I think about for the day, or like I'll come
Yeah.
back to. And then my first one that I read by her was 101 essays that make or that change the
Hmm.
way you think, and then this is how you heal. Those
Yeah.
so like they're just such feel good.
They are, and she actually has a podcast. Have you found this podcast?
Oh, oh my
Yeah, so
God.
she I don't think she does it anymore, but
Oh,
it's on the podcast app because I like was really obsessed with her for a hot minute. And so I like found it and she does these kind of like 10-20 minute, I guess, like podcast episodes and they're just so dense. Like I literally have to listen to like each one like 5 times before I'm like, oh my
it
God,
really,
like
yeah.
yeah, yeah. But
Oh,
she's great. Love her.
that's amazing. Yeah, she's awesome. I'm literally gonna check that out after this. That's great. I did not realize that.
Yeah, you should. What about podcasts?
I would say I feel like everyone's definitely been talking about Mel Robbins, and so I've definitely gotten more into her. My other favorite, I found her back when I kind of started my event planning business, but her name's Rebecca Lee, and so it's the Rebecca Lee podcast, and it's just such a feel-good podcast where it's just again talking about self-help, changing your mindset, and that's where I've gotten a lot of tools from her. And just I listen to the same ones over and over, but you always hear something new or read something new, even when you reread or like so that's why I always have the same kind of things. Like I'll reread the books multiple times, but you always take away something new.
Yeah, yeah, I'm with you. Love her, and I'll have to check out those others. I've heard Mel Robbins a few times. I haven't heard of the other one, so we'll have to check that out.
Yeah, she's amazing.
Yeah, that's so awesome. Well, this has been a lot of fun. I'm so honored to be your first podcast. This is really fun. And where can people find you or get in touch with you?
So my event planning page is eventful_Erin, and then my portfolio or a way to reach me is erinthumann.com. So that will have like all my information, and then my personal Instagram is just Erin Thumann, my name.
I love it. Well, thanks for being here. And everybody, thanks for listening to this episode of the Brand Bosses podcast. We're going to be launching season 5 soon. So excited to have you guys listen to that and hear more from these amazing female entrepreneurs that are just building these brands that are truly unstoppable. So
Thank you.